Andrew Callahan is the president. He is the Patriots reporter. He is a columnist for one of the Patriots reporters and columnist. Your Doug Kyde, your coworker over there, one of his tweets was put on awful announcing.
Oh, I missed this.
No, it was like a favorable one. Mm-hmm. But they were saying that Belichick last night during the Manningcast apparently was very critical of the Falcons. They were saying perhaps that's because of his, not getting the Falcons job. And then just to bring it on home, they had Danny Lifshatz, another guy, and Doug Kyde's tweets about the very same thing, saying it's been second and third. So don't you worry, alpha announcing's coming correct. Did you see that last night?
No, I did not. I had a little bit of work going on, but I did see some clips, and it reminded me, and I think you guys know this, like the longer you're on air, podcast, TV, radio, whatever, there's an inevitability that you can only put on for so long. So I feel like folks who do not know Belichick in a way that New England do, listening to press conferences and being on the radio, TV, etc., will start to figure things out. This is number one so far. He's a petty person. Anytime he had a chance to skewer the Falcons, they were too early in free agency, got fined for that. Can't tackle, bad offense, bad defense. And look, that doesn't take away from him being the greatest coach of all time. But when it comes to holding grudges, he's also a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't think his media career is going to go over so well. I think this might be short-lived. But but he was on Let's Go.
Yeah, let's go, everybody. Come on, let's go.
Him and Tom Brady. All right, so they're coming back. They're playing Thursday night. The Jets are 6.5-point favorites. Hachi Machi. Why? Why are the Jets 6.5-point favorites?
Patriots can't pass the ball.
Okay, but they can run. The Jets' run defense has been bad. But let's just go over things. So the Patriots have been able to successfully dominate time of possession in the first two. Or they've been good with time of possession, certainly against Cincinnati. I would assume, let's say. The Jets have had no time of possession in their first two games. The Jets have struggled against the run. The Patriots can run the ball well. And the Patriots are good against the run, and the Jets have been relying an awful lot on the run. 6.5-point favorites against the Patriots, a team that they usually struggle against. Home opener, why 6.5?
Okay, I'd say a couple things. Number one, this is the Jets' first home game. So you can talk about them being one-on-one, barely beating Tennessee. They went on the road and also lost to the Niners. Within that, you have a much more talented team. It's also healthier. I mean, the Patriots are starting a third-round rookie, third-string left tackle who hasn't done that full-time since high school. If Caden Wallace is going to replace Vidarian Lowe, and Vidarian Lowe left Sunday's game with a knee injury.
So just real quick, Vidarian Lowe, they said, though, it's day-to-day, right?
We'll see. I think Mayo smartly has adopted the Belichick approach when it comes to injuries. Like he once said, I'll be as transparent as possible. Turns out that's not transparent at all, which
then
is
he got into the job and realized, no,
as a fan, you don't want him to be transparent about injuries.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So starting up front, the Jets have a big advantage defensively. The Patriots, as we know, can't play from behind. So all it takes is one Aaron Rodgers drive to do what Geno Smith did on Sunday. Blitz comes over here. We've got a zone blitz over there. They're playing cover two. Like stuff that he can still do even if his arm is still not there at 40. And he hasn't been a great quarterback, I should say, for the last couple of years.
His arm is still there. His mobility is not. That's the big issue, is that he really can't move. His arm's really good. It's actually quite fun to watch. He cannot move. That is the one problem. If you get in his vicinity, he's going down. All right, go ahead.
And that's the other part. I don't think the Patriots can generate enough pressure on him. And the Jets' offensive line is not particularly good. But they tried to rush forward for most of Sunday against Seattle that had bad guards and a third-string right tackle. They couldn't do it. So they blitzed in overtime. And we saw how that went. First down, game over. That's what it is. So the Jets, all they need is to cover in the first half. And then they can go on cruise control for the rest of the game because the Patriots cannot play catch-up the way that they're built.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we said after watching that first game is, all right, you can get away with that and you can play that way as long as you have the lead and you maintain the lead and you can just run the ball and even bring in an extra offensive lineman and try and do it that way. But you're right. They can't pass the ball. And when it comes to the loss on Sunday, what bothers me, I think what bothers a lot of people who want to see this team get to more than 4 or 5 wins this season, if you let a game like that slip away, a game that you have a chance of winning, I think anyway, in the back of my mind, there are going to be plenty of games they're just not in this season. They have no chance of winning. You had the lead. You had the lead late, and you had every chance to win that game. If you let those slip away, that chips away at that win total and giving yourself something to tune in for every week and thinking, oh, you've got a competitive football team. If you can't be competitive against that team in that situation like they were in on Sunday, what does that mean for the games that you're really not going to be competitive in? Oh, is it blowout time? Is it turning it off at halftime and going off and doing something else? That's what you're afraid of.
Yeah, and they won in the way they needed to, right? 0 turnovers, over 150 yards in the ground. I don't particularly care about time of possession. It's more like what you do with the time than the amount that you sit on the ball, because the Seattle showed, well, if we just want to throw to DK Metcalf and he wants to sprint as fast as possible for 56 yards and a touchdown, that minute and a half was much better than your 34. Cool. But they did, again, everything they needed to, except some very fundamental things, like block a field goal attempt. Seattle overloaded the left side of the line, which everyone could see, and they couldn't block it. So had they gotten that field goal, I think up 6, they probably make a stop at the end. But those are the fundamental things, which A, happen in week 2, happens to everybody. But B, they can't afford to screw up because of just the way they're built.
How are they not getting home with 4 at all? Keon White by himself has been very, very good. What are the other 3 guys doing? Why can't they block? Why can't they pressure the passer at all? I'm confused by this because I watch Keon White. He's there all the time. He's from the middle and from the edge. He's provided pressure on the quarterback, but you're telling me the other 3 guys have been that bad?
Well, I think it's not what they're doing. It's who they are. Right, Devon Godchaux is playing more than half of the snaps. He's their nose tackle. That should be first down, second down, get out of there. Instead, he's in passing situations. Dietrich Wise only had 1 pressure, to your point. Joshua Uche, 1 hurry. We haven't seen that guy, it feels like, in 2 years. That's it. But you're relying on them. Anthony Jennings is another name, run first player, that have to play because Barmore's out. You traded Judon. You didn't replenish the line with many other pass rushers. This is it. And they did have O'Shane Ximines banged up, but we can't look at this tape and be like, oh, they would have won had they had O'Shane Ximines, all due respect. It's just they're asking guys to do, in my opinion, too much right now, given their early down workload.
All right, what happens if – well, first of all, Jawan Bentley's probably out for the season with the torn pectoral muscle, as John said in his update. How does that affect the defense? How big a blow is that for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's a big blow. And I look at it this way. The Patriots, for years, Gerard Mayo said this last week, could bank on the run defense. We're going to show up. You're not going to feel like you can run the ball. That's how good we are. Good enough. Juwan Bentley's number 2 in the list of players that you cannot lose for that run defense. Number 1 is Devon Godchaux. He's 250 pounds. Geno Smith highlighted him. It is his first player in the press conference last week talking about the Patriots defense. So once you set the terms of engagement right there before you get on the field, you're not going to run the ball on us. You know then what the other team probably wants to do a little bit more, which is throw. He also made the calls, made the checks. They can't afford now to lose Jelani Tavai, who is almost as irreplaceable as David Andrews is offensively, which you go like, those are kind of the meh guys on the roster.
Yeah.
There's nothing sexy about either of them.
Yeah.
Like expect otherwise.
Yeah. It doesn't ring like Patrick Mahomes, like Tavai.
But if we called Tavai the Flying Hawaiian, I think that might spice things up for him. Anyway, you can't afford to lose that guy because he would be possibly making the calls now, playing on the edge, playing off the ball. He's big. He's a really good playmaker, I think, in space, underrated in that way. And if you lose him, you're down to your second-string linebackers we just talked about, second-string pass rushers. Okay,
and so what happens if the Jets, like we're watching on Thursday, and by some untold miracle, the Jets march down the field. They score a touchdown. They're up 10. Let's say then the field goal happens. They inexplicably stop the Patriots, and it's 10-0.
Game over.
It's 10-0. What did the Patriots do at that point? Like how does that look? How many wide receivers had
three catches, and one of the Osborne catch was in overtime. So really, it's 2.
So yeah, the wide receivers not overly used in the game plan. They relying on the tight end, throwing to the backs. What do they do if they're down 10? Like what does that look like?
I think until the fourth quarter, you still run the ball. That's the only thing you're good at right now. And at the point is to cover the field, get into the end zone. You got to do what you do well. Because it's funny you say they didn't really feature the receivers. Obviously, the catch numbers are what they are. Everyone knows those by now. Their most common personnel grouping against Cincinnati and then Seattle was 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. You would have never known that because their success rate in that grouping with 3 receivers was by far their worst in both games. So I would say either not ditch that, but pivot more of those snaps to 2 tight ends or an extra offensive lineman, or, and I would fully do this starting today when they go to practice, give Demario Douglas all of his snaps at one receiver position. Rotate opposite him with Polk, Osborne, and Tyquan Thornton.
Okay, because Douglas was frustrated after the game.
Yeah. Well, he left. He didn't talk to us. He was frustrated yesterday. Very
what's
challenging.
Yesterday.
What's he going to talk about? He didn't even get targeted, much less have a catch.
Yeah, why would you talk to him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing to talk about.
Andrew, for those who don't know, if you don't have the exact quote, who cares? But what did Douglas have to say?
So 2 things. He said it was very, very challenging dealing with the lack of targets, lack of production. He's a receiver. All receivers struggle when they don't get the ball. Number 2 was asked, do you feel like you've been able to prove what you can do? He said, not this year, last year. That was it.
Okay, so the reasoning behind it could be as simple as offensive line isn't giving Jacoby Brissett enough time. We talked about it yesterday with Sosi. He said, yeah, well, if it's not there the first or second read, I understand that. That's a time issue with the offensive line, but is it also an issue with Jacoby Brissett where if it's not immediately right there, he can't do it?
No. There are 2 things, and you hit on the protection. That's the biggest one. So he's getting pressured on 45% of his snaps, even though combined between them, the Seahawks and Bengals have blitzed them 6 times total. So they're rushing up in the way that the Patriots want to. We're going with 4. We're going to get home, and we'll put 7 in coverage. So he's getting pressured 1 out of every 2 times he drops back. Number 2 is, and I know Mike Reese, I think, said this to you guys yesterday, the passing game that Alex Van Pelt has is a very downfield, play-action shot kind of passing game. The Browns last year, they had 5 quarterbacks, led the league and the number of yards. I kid you not. Their passes covered in the air. Like, we're
Flacco.
Bleep it and chuck it.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
Hell yeah.
So when you pair that kind of passing game with an offensive line that cannot block 4 as it stands right now, by the time the receivers do get downfield and finish the routes, Brissett can't do anything with it. And he's actually doing, talk about more unsexy stats, this is what I bring you 8 to 9 on Tuesdays, an unbelievable job of avoiding sacks, given the rate of pressure he's facing. It's one of the best rates in the league. If he wasn't pulling a you-know-what out of his ass, that would be a rabbit. I guess I screwed that up.
Yeah, you said pull. You censored the wrong thing. You said pulling an ass, but you didn't pull. You said so. We'll never know.
It must have been. Rabbit.
It must have been. You know what it was? He was going to say the C word.
No. I don't.
It doesn't make sense.
Period.
But Andrew Callahan, newsflash, was about to drop a hard C.
No. Whoa. And that's not just because Mom's listening. Don't say that word. But the point is, Jacoby Brissett.
No one out of his ass.
He pulled the what out of his ass. And if I told you what he pulled, you'd be off the air, my friends. Because there was a bunch of stuff up in that ass. Let's just put it that way. Brissett's nickname in the locker room is the Keister. All right, go ahead. Recover now.
I don't think
Good luck.
Can. I think I need to take a lap around the studio.
All right,
no, look, here's the last thing. So he's been pressured 28 times so far. That's a lot, 14 per game. He's only taken 4 sacks. And that's key because whenever you get a sack, it kills the drive. It happened on Sunday. Anytime he went backwards, the drive was done. But when he extends plays, dodges rushers, finds Hunter Henry, completes those passes, that not only keeps them alive, but moves them forward in a way that they can't get those plays unless he's doing that. So he's doing a really, really good job of not letting bad situations, which is every time he drops back to pass, get worse. And that's allowing to get whatever points that they have.
And just quickly, and then we'll move on from this particular conversation. But Van Pelt, you said, had this F it and chuck it style of offense. You're saying that they can't do it. Does he look to be in any way adapting to the personnel issues that he has?
A little bit, yeah. And here's the thing, though. You could adapt and run more quick passing game, which I think they should. But even then, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback and KJ Osborne, Tyquan Thornton, and Demario Douglas, and whomever else, Jalen Polk, that's still not a good passing attack. The Jets are not looking at their scouting report this morning and being like, oh, we got to watch out for this receiver. What they're doing is saying we need to stop the run. So within the adjustments, I wrote about this morning, he made a really good adjustment in the fourth quarter, which started those last 2 scoring drives. So it's more the schematics on the ground. But you could only do that, as you guys know, if you're within 7 points, which they were against the Seahawks. But if they get down, it's cool that you want to change up from more man block runs to zone. The other team's fine with that because that means you're not throwing the ball.
Okay. It should be interesting. The Jets have been a bit of a sieve when it's come to opposing running backs. But then again, Kansas City didn't have the biggest star, McCaffrey. So, I mean, there is an excuse. The Jets had to stop the kid from Georgia Tech that was undrafted, that ran for 140 yards.
Jordan Mason.
Thank you, John. I would not have remembered his name.
Yeah.
But the Jets do have the kid from Wisconsin, 2 touchdowns, the youngest kid since 1950 to score a touchdown in the NFL. And his name eludes me. But he is number 0, which shows a bit of confidence, don't you think, to take the number 0?
Christian Gonzalez. Yes.
All right. Very good. Odd-looking gentleman, Christian
Still waiting
Gonzalez.
on Christian Gonzalez to get me the first of the 1.5 interceptions I need him to get this season. That was the line.
That still seems pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, teams are throwing at him. We didn't. The reason
That's
why the
what
number
I
was
know.
so
He
low
apparently
is that that no one's going to throw him. No.
That
First
first
2 weeks, people are
That
throwing
first
at him.
touchdown does not count as throwing at him because he was nowhere near the ball.
Well,
correct.
I mean, it was to his side, but it was
They're
not
not.
close
They're
to
not
it.
calling off.
Well,
of
you
that
haven't
one.
looked at advanced stats. Apparently, he did a very good job on DK Metcalf. When he was on him, Jonathan.
People, but the thing is, people are still throwing at Gonzalez.
Well, listen.
Good.
He-
I need them to.
Maybe there will be a deflection and Hardy will win some money. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.